Hello and welcome to On the Front Porch with Us, your weekly Disney podcast. I'm Tony Pascal.
I'm Josh Whitehead, and just as a quick reminder, we wanted to let everybody know that we are what you would call adult-friendly comedy and reviewing. So if you have any kids listening, make sure that because things might get a little dicey.
Yep,
Tony.
for sure. Nudity is on its way.
Oh, yeah. Tony, what was it that we watched this week?
We watched this week. We watched Homeward Bound: The Incredible Journey. If you hear some scraping sounds at the beginning, that is because my cat is climbing all over me. He is not going anywhere. He is not escaping. But if he did, I'm sure his journey would be just as incredible.
I'm sure you're right. So Homeward Bound, it's a 1993 movie. And just as a quick disclaimer to everybody listening, if you've seen this movie before, you might already know, and if you're going to watch it again, you'll certainly know. There's not a whole hell of a lot to talk about with this movie. We wish there was, but it's probably going to be a slightly shorter episode. But we'll do everything we can to try and get all the funny stuff that we find and all the interesting plot points into this podcast. So
yeah, it's not that there's nothing to talk about. It's just that it doesn't necessarily go as deep as some of the other movies that we've talked about. It's not like Aristocats was super deep or anything, but Aristocats did have tons of plot holes that we can make fun of. This is a pretty well-made story. Stays pretty true to the book, and from what I understand, it also is just funny in definitely a lot of ways, but it's not super deep like some of our other podcasts we've talked about. So it's we'll have stuff to talk about, but it's definitely not exactly the same as what we've been doing.
Right. And so I think this one has some interesting things to talk about, though, and maybe a couple of things that we've already talked about in the previous episodes where we sort of rehash it a little bit and fit it into what's going on in this story. With that, our short, before we even get there, we have our trivia for the week. And Tony, I understand you have a couple and I've got a couple, so why don't we start with you?
Yeah, so it's directed by Dwayne Dunham, which I don't know if you know this, Josh. Did you know that he directed Star Wars 6, Episode 6?
New Hope?
No, Episode 6,
Episode 6.
Return of the Jedi.
Jedi. Oh, wow, that's really cool, actually.
And I know you don't know this. He also directed Halloween Town.
Halloween Town?
Yeah.
What a great movie. Oh, my goodness.
I know. Can't wait until we can go ahead and review that movie.
Yeah, this would be awesome.
But we will definitely see more of Dwayne Dunham's work. There were a couple of other Disney movies that he did in his career.
I'm definitely a fan, if that's the case. So I have a couple of questions for you, Tony.
All right.
I know that you know it's based off a movie, or rather, based off a book, but do you know that it's also based off of another movie? It's a remake?
It's a remake of an older movie?
Is it a Disney not
movie?
Disney. No, it is not.
Huh. Is it any good?
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I don't know.
So it's based off of the 1963 movie The Incredible Journey, which is based off of the book written by Sheila Burnford, The Incredible Journey. And in the book and in the prior movie, it's a little changed as far as these three main characters. So I'm just going to have you guess what you think the character of Chance. I'm going to give you multiple choice. How's that?
Okay.
The character of Chance, would you say was A, a bulldog, B, a golden retriever, C, a chihuahua, or D, a beagle?
Oh, shit. I hope he's a chihuahua.
Is that
would be I think most fun. Yeah, I'm gonna go Chihuahua just because I want that to be
No,
true.
no. Chance was a golden retriever.
Okay.
Uh, for Shadow, I'm going to give you the same four options.
Oh my gosh. Josh, hold up. That is literally just on top of the microphone. Okay. Okay. All right. We'll edit that to the front
Yeah.
of the podcast.
That's fine.
We'll just start with that as like an intro. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, man.
So it's the same four options for Shadow. What of those four breeds do you think Shadow was?
Would Shadow be the bulldog?
Actually, a bull terrier is what he was.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So they kind of switched the two of them in this movie. Kind of made Shadow the golden retriever and Chance the pit bull breed.
That's some interesting stereotyping. I guess like the golden retriever is the often portrayed as like the loyal one or whatever, like the most loyal animal. But it's interesting that they switched it from the original, which was maybe not stereotyped as much.
Right, and it's funny to think because yes, people generally say that pit bulls have a lot more energy, and bull terrier especially would have way more energy. And so the fact that Chance, this character that's like basically a puppy, is way more energetic, it makes more sense, I think, in terms of making a live action movie to have the bull terrier as the really hyperactive animal.
Yeah, it's interesting. I I wonder if it would have like come off the same, like if it had been switched.
Right. I don't know, to be honest with you. Because that golden retriever that played Shadow was just perfect. Really like calm and collected.
Yeah, no, the actors in this movie were great.
Yeah, they sure were.
They did really great.
And so just real quick, weird things that I found out in the book. Chance's real name was Luath, Luath, Luath.
Luath?
Yep,
Louth?
Luath,
Lewis?
like Lewis with a lisp.
No.
Shadow's real name was Bodger.
Bodger.
And
These are crazy names.
Yeah, right. Sassy was actually not a Himalayan cat. She was actually a Siamese, and her name was Tao.
Huh.
Yeah.
I like Sassy as a name. I'm really happy that the name was a cat.
Yeah, Sassy is very sassy. It's true. So yeah, just a couple of weird things. The other weird thing that I found out was that the voice of Shadow, Don Ameche, this was his second to last film before he died. So like this was one of his last roles before he died.
He has a very characteristic voice. He sounds like a lot like something out of like an old movie.
Yeah. And he was most definitely the oldest person on this cast at the time. He was without a doubt the oldest person on the cast.
Yeah.
And so the fact that he played this really wise old character, I think, was fitting.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, of course, we've got those other two characters, Michael J. Fox and Sally Field, who were fairly young at the time, playing those really just incredible roles for them. I think that it was really, really good. I like Michael J. Fox in that role a lot.
Yeah, no. Now that like you told me that it was Michael J. Fox right before we came on, and now I'm like thinking about all of the moments of the movie, knowing that like imagining it as rather than Chance, imagining the whole scene as as Marty from Back to the Future. That's like from the rest of the episode, I want us all to just think of Chance as Marty from Back to the Future.
On all fours running. Yeah, I think that's a good. That's how I'm going to picture it now. Um, so before we get into the movie too much, our short for the week is Three for Breakfast. It's a Donald Duck and a Chip and Dale one. So why don't you go to YouTube, type in Three for Breakfast 1948, and it should show up. Why don't you go ahead and take a second, watch that, and come right back. All right, pause.
Meanwhile, my cat is just purring really loudly. Can you hear my cat?
Just barely. So hopefully, while Tony's cat was purring, you had a second to watch the short. So this is a really good one. I chose this one this week, and I just love this one so much. It's a Jack Hanna. So Jack Hanna directed it, which means that for those of you who don't know who Jack Hanna is, he's the Hanna from Hanna-Barbera. Very clearly, greatly written, produced. I just love this one. What are your thoughts, Tony?
Yeah, no, this is absolutely my favorite short that we've done so far. I love obviously great animation style. This is where animation's really starting to hit its stride, and what we think of as quintessentially Disney of this time period. That style is starting to come in, and we see it from the mid 40s. It everything starts to get sharper and starts to look a lot cleaner, and by the time we get to to even just 1948, this is really sharp and clean, and it looks great. Then throughout the 50s as well.
Yeah,
and that's a very Hanna-Barbera look to it. It's got that clean, really well drawn, sharp line look to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the other thing is that it is reminiscent of it reminds me of Tom and Jerry, to be honest with you.
Right? Yeah.
This there's not really anything happening. There's a single thing happening, but the way they do it, it's that slapstick style comedy that is classic to Hanna-Barbera cartoons for sure. I thought it was hilarious. I think that it reminded me of a Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah, absolutely. So the story follows these two chipmunks who want to go, Chip and Dale, who want to go and eat Donald Duck's breakfast. There's just all the nonsense that happens around that. And the whole time I was thinking about Josh's irrational fear of squirrels. And for those of you in the audience who don't already know this, Josh is absolutely terrified of squirrels, has a extreme phobia of squirrels.
I would like to clarify that it is not irrational. Squirrels are truly terrifying creatures.
Do you remember people would give you squirrel statues for Christmas and stuff?
I do. I have to hide them from myself because they are terrifying creatures. They really are. So the reason that Tony brings this up is because it is reminiscent of this video of what happened that made me afraid of squirrels.
There's a specific moment in Josh's history that has changed him forever.
It did. So we were, I guess it was for one vacation. I think it was actually a summer vacation, and we had left the house, and we had come back after a week. And we also had a stovepipe, so it went all the way up to the roof.
Same, exactly.
Much like these two chipmunks that stayed on the top, but at least it was covered for them. They weren't crawling down into the stovepipe.
Apparently, there was
for us, there was just a plain old hole, and so we had duct taped the bottom part, so the immediate part of the stove where the steam is supposed to go through. And we came back, and there was this. Looked like it was something pushing down on the duct tape. And so we poked at it, and it scampered. And so we were like, what is going on? And he can't go back up the stovepipe. There's no way to get back up there. So we spend a good like hour prepping a designated path for this squirrel to go through the kitchen.
We all have
And
jobs. We all have jobs.
Yeah.
We're all holding blankets like through to protect the way. So like you don't go this way. This is the way. This way has a blanket in front of it. You don't go this way. This way has like a bunch of couches in front of it. So like we made like a path for this squirrel to go straight out the door.
We created a hallway that this one direction the squirrel was going to go out, straight out the door. And then we opened the duct tape. Squirrel fell out into the kitchen and is like running, breaking things. And here we are like holding up blankets, trying to like, shoo, go that way. And he jumped onto my blanket and was like looking up at me. And I'm like, no, get away.
Right up in your face. He was right next to you.
And so like we had to like re-strategize because he got over my blanket's wall. Re-strategize. And eventually try and usher him out the door. And he did at some point get out the door. But the problem is that this was not the only time this happened.
I feel like it happened like all the time and it always came right at you. Well,
Yeah.
after that, I felt like it happened more because like the squirrels now knew like how to get in. After that first time, they were like, we know how to get into the house now.
Right. So for that reason, I think that I'm justified in my fear.
Man,
But
that is a great story.
Yeah. It's a part of my past. It's not something I like to think about, but it is. Yeah, and so like obviously they didn't like steal our pancakes or anything, but they certainly got into the house. And Chip and Dale knew the way out at least. This squirrel did not at all know the way out.
Yep. Real quick, director of that short was Jack Hanna. Oh, we already talked about that.
Yep.
We can cut that out. Sorry, Josh.
No, it's all right. I'm not worried about it. So again, that was the short. Hope you liked it. It was pretty good.
Hold up. My wife is coming into the door.
Okay.
We'll cut that all of this out.
Okay. Hi, Marie. Hi.
Hello. We're recording a podcast. Josh, Marie hasn't listened to any of our podcasts.
Yes, I have.
Like one.
Yeah.
Well, stop not listening.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want me to go into the other room? Or do you want to shower?
Sure.
Okay. Cool. Just
Okay.
Can you close the bathroom door when you do? So it's all right. We're back on.
Okay. So yeah, like I said, that was a pretty great short. I hope you liked it.
Yeah.
The next thing that we're gonna have you do is go watch Homeward Bound, 1993. It should be on Netflix. I found it on Netflix. So why don't you go watch it real fast, and we will be back shortly. So pause.
Pause. Get it? Pause.
And play.
Get it? Pause. Pause.
For those of you, if you could see the video right now, Tony is so proud of himself. So, Tony.
Yeah.
If you had to say there was a general theme of this movie, what would you say it is?
Okay. The clear theme of this movie is cats rule, dogs drool.
That is not at all what I got.
What's the theme that you got?
My theme was flying meat. Right at the beginning. Yeah.
Also,
If there's flying meat, yeah, you better grab it.
you grab the flying meat.
Yep. So, like, first of all, what these three characters just work so well together. What would you say, like, is your favorite part of this dynamic?
Okay, like clearly I'm biased towards Sassy.
Right.
Sassy Sarah Fields is awesome. Love Sarah Fields in general.
Sally.
Sally Fields, sorry. Love her in general because she is just like a cool, like a great actress. But in this movie, like I just love the character. This is also really interesting because like a lot of times talking animal movies, like the animals actually have their mouths moving. Like they just like it's mostly what they're thinking, and they all kind of have like some kind of like telepathic relationship where they can all talk to each other through minds, and that's pretty cool. I really enjoy like how sassy Sassy is. She's by far my favorite. I like Chance and Shadow great. And they provide most of the actual storytelling of the story. But Sassy is like the coolest character.
Well, sure. I think that one of the things that is interesting about that dynamic too is the fact that you have Chance and Shadow who almost feel obligated to take care of Sassy, right? To a certain extent, I feel like Shadow is taking care of both of them,
Yeah.
and Chance, to a certain degree, feels like he has to make sure that she's okay. And so,
Right, but they like would starve without her. like
they were
she's
going to leave
definitely
at
like
the top of
the
the hill. So I think that's interesting, and we'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later. But right off the bat, at the start of this movie, we sort of get hit with the fact, first of all, Chance is the narrator, right? Chance is the leading the story. And again, that may be one of the reasons why in the book, Chance is the golden retriever character, this really loyal, faithful character. And we find out in the movie that Chance is has the same Bolt that Bolt tragedy, that Bolt backstory of having been in the pound or having a person that was with them and then abandoned them. So versus maybe in the book, that's a bit of irony. This really loyal kind of dog, this very loyal breed of dog, a golden retriever, not being loyal.
yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely like sets up Chance as like more of like an outcast for this story, which is pretty cool. Because that's more sort of where he starts out as. He's like, don't really care so much. He's not even at the wedding. The other two animals are, oh, well, no, that's not true. Sassy's not at the wedding either, but Shadow's at the wedding and like is part of the wedding. Sassy's a cat, so isn't expected to be there because, you know, cats.
Right.
But Chance is like could have probably been at the wedding. He's like capable of that, but he was instead like eating human stuff at the time, right?
Yeah.
And Shadow's like, I just need to give a talking to that dog.
Yeah. And this is just another thing that's reminiscent of Shadow's character, right? Shadow being this like old man. I've seen it all, and that damn pup.
That pup. Oh yeah, he says the pup. So good. I like the idea of Marty McFly being called the pup.
Yeah. He says that line like 5 times in the movie. He's like, ugh, that pup.
That pup.
The other thing that I noticed just throughout the movie is just the absolute abundance of animal puns. There's so many animal puns in this movie.
Yeah, there are.
And I love it. I think it's hilarious.
What's some of the ones that you wrote down?
I didn't write down too many, to be honest with you. I definitely saw the cats rule, dogs drool, the fact that he's a bull terrier and bull terriers drool a lot. I thought that was funny
That was great.
because like later on he's like dogs rule and cats drool, and I've only really ever been near one cat that's like drooled, and that was because it's a really old cat, and when you scratch its belly right, it drools on you.
Gross.
Yeah.
So like we see this wedding. The older brother's not very excited about it. He's like, wedding. Everybody else seems fine. And the wedding is not all that important, except that it gives us some like good characterization for the like our three major characters.
Right.
You see Chance begging like, please, 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 let me have some food. Drop some food. Let me have some food. Yum, 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 food, 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 food. And Sassy's like, no, I don't want any food. Just, I'm so sad. I just want to love you and like curl up in your arm. No, I don't want the food. I couldn't possibly. And then she's like, oh, I'm gonna eat all the shrimp. Yum, yum, yum.
I really love that. I thought that was hilarious.
That
her,
was
her tactic for getting shrimp.
So good. So good. I should also say, guys, I have not seen this movie, I don't think, in years before I rewatched it. Like, for me, this was like, unlike a lot of the movies that we're going to watch, like, for me, this was like a actual, like, a lot of it was surprising to me as I was watching it.
And same here. Like, it's been ages since I've seen this movie. And so going back and rewatching it was really very nostalgic. The other thing, right before we get too far into it, I thought that it was really funny that he was like calling Shadow a chump. Chance was calling Shadow a chump. Because he thinks that he's like too old to do anything, right? He's characterizing Shadow as too old and too loyal for no apparent reason.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think the chump is more about the loyalty, right? It's like you're like suckered in because like we get a little bit of Chance's background that we already kind of skipped past, but like he's like, I went to the pound and was behind bars and it sucked or whatever, right? Like as he's narrating to Enter, and so like when he's calling him a chump for like caring about the family or whatever, like you get that sense of mistrust that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also the other thing that you mentioned was that the oldest son, Peter, didn't really seem too excited about the wedding, but I don't think that was the reason. I think that it's because they already knew that the three animals were going to be put to this farm. I think that's more of the reason that he was upset at the wedding.
I think there's definitely that, and I think that's like the major like thing that we know, right? Like, but I think there is to some extent a like I'm not sure about this guy kind of feeling, and I think like maybe Peter is taking out like some of his frustrations with this person based on like the pet thing and the move and everything, but like it's a lot of changes all at once. So like he's probably frustrated at a lot of things, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I just think like I think but I think he's just like overall frustrated.
I think you're right. I think that it is, especially like we don't really see too much going on in this movie of him or really any of the children dealing with having a new stepdad, right?
Except for the like time when Peter yells at Dad, and we'll talk about that later on. But yeah,
exactly. And so like there's really only one instance of this happening in this movie, and so it feels like they just sort of accept it from the very beginning, and that's why I guess I'm a little skeptical that it's about the wedding. It more feels like it's about the animals, and maybe you're right. It may be a cover up. It may be a little bit of everything.
Like I just sort of take it as like I took it as a little bit of like a metaphor, I guess, where like I'm trying to see how to say this right. Like,
I guess for that metaphor is that each of these three animals represents, to some extent, the child that they're associated with.
right. Those three kids are like figuring it out and like trying to get back. Like they are put in a new situation and like they are like having to go through all these trials to get to a like back to home to like normalcy or whatever. Um and ultimately like the kids do find a sense of normalcy, and like as like things get better for our animal friends, like when things are really bad for animal friends, things are really bad for the family, where like they're yelling at each other. When things are really good for the animal friends, things are like getting better for the family, where like they're playing basketball together and like starting to actually like make it work. And they're all like they moved back to Northern California, right? Like so like everything sort of changes all together.
Yeah, and also on top of that, you've got that later on when they're saying we found them, the family's like all together. You see this random scene. It doesn't really seem necessary of all the kids in the school getting together and being like excited with their parents, and then the animals are excited because they are together. They know they're going home, and then yeah. So I totally agree. I think that it's those three kids are personified by the three animals.
Yeah.
Um, so from there, before we get to like we skipped ahead a little bit, but the one of the things I thought was really funny, and it's just a little thing, but if you go back and watch it, I think that it's probably one of the best little things that happened in the movie. Very small detail was when Chance was eating the cake. The grandma was like freaking out and crying, but the look on the grandpa's face, he was like smiling and laughing hysterically.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, I swear it was the funniest thing. And like before he even acknowledged the fact that his wife was sad, he was laughing his head off, and I loved it.
Oh, I love that. That's so good. I have to look that up. I have to rewatch that part.
Yeah, and like I even like paused it on his face and took a screenshot.
Can you share it
I
on
thought it
Facebook?
was yeah, I'll do it, but it's just so funny, man. I could not help but laugh.
That's great. I will definitely look that
Yeah.
up.
I will post a picture of that on Facebook, that screenshot, because I lost my mind when I saw that. So like they're taken to the farm with their aunt. And she seems like a nice lady, but she's obviously living alone. She's handling this farm on her own. I think that overall she would have been a good place for those animals to stay with. I think it was the fact that she left so quickly that sort of forced this to happen. And really, I do believe because they were happy there. I mean, they didn't have the kids there, but they were happy there. They were able to run around and do stuff.
Yeah. Chance says, "Hallelujah, I died and went to Kentucky."
Yeah, because of the chicken. Yeah.
It was a good line.
Yeah, I actually wrote that one down too. I thought it was really funny.
Okay, real quick.
Yeah.
I understand like wanting to leave the dogs out in the like ranch when you go into the city, whatever. But a cat is something that like is a almost every apartment will take a cat. Why not leave the dogs at the ranch and take the cat with you? Because cats are better than dogs, and you have a pet with you.
I think you're biased. Um, just I think that it's a matter of A, for the story's sake, that this cat was with them, but B, for the sake of uh, if you're a parent and you say two of my kids are going to lose their pets, but one of them gets to keep their pet, I think you're going to have issues.
But the cat could be everybody's pet, and the dogs are still going to be there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. He said that
I'm just telling you, that's what should have happened. The cat could have gone with you.
You know what? Buy a snake. That's my opinion. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I think that it's he said that it was a small apartment. He said that it was a small area. They were already going to be tight.
Yeah.
But when we saw that tiny glimpse of them in their apartment or in their new house or whatever, it looked pretty spacious, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, like, if there's space for 5 people, there's space for 5 people and a cat. Like,
Well, even the dogs, from what I saw, it looked like a pretty sizable space. Why not also bring the dogs?
that's a good question. Because they would get lost in San Francisco.
Oh, that's the second one.
Yeah.
For the record, Disney sequels are not as good as the originals, so you can watch them, but they're just not quite as good.
In this case, much, much, much worse.
Oh yeah. So we had the flying meat. That was funny. The whole thing with Chance. But we're down to the farm now. So the next thing I had
really liked the when they are like shoo like kind of thing. Like they're like they throw the frisbee to Chance and Chance says, "No, you let it escape." I just like that line a lot. That was a really great line. I laughed out loud at that line because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. The other thing the next thing I had was Birdzilla.
Oh yeah.
First of all, I like, why is there a turkey in this thing full of chickens? Like, turkeys are very vicious.
Turkey.
And my other question, and this is throughout the movie too, but you've got these animals that are talking to each other. Why don't the other animals also talk, right?
Yeah, I thought about that a lot too. Like the snake doesn't ever talk. The birds don't talk. It's only the cats and dogs. Like that. Even other mammals don't talk. The bears don't talk. Like nobody else talks. And maybe it's like a thing like where if you hang out with humans enough, you know English. I don't know.
Well, even they didn't know English. They barely understood when they said the word home.
All right. I don't know nothing. Yeah. Because like Shadow says something like, "I know you're sad, but I don't know why. I'll make you happy because I'm a good dog." How do you like my Shadow impersonation?
That was a solid Shadow impression.
Yeah, thanks.
Thoroughly impressed. But that was a big thing for me. Like, why? Why don't any of those chickens talk, for example? Or the mountain lion, at least, is also a cat. You'd think that, like, dogs and cats maybe can talk to each other. I don't know.
Pets. It's pets. That's what it is.
Domesticated. So that's a little weird. I think it would have added to the story if, like, you heard the mountain lion be like, "I'm gonna kick your ass."
Who would they get to play the mountain lion? Like I could see it as like a real like redneck character. Like
Yeah, that's kind of what I was picturing.
As like a Samuel L. Jackson character. I'd be happy either way.
That's kind of what I was imagining. But I think it would have added something to the story for sure. I kind of wish, and even the chickens, I kind of wish that they had. The other thing that, and you already said this, is that this movie is one of few where they don't move the mouths of the animals. And so the fact that they don't kind of makes you question how they are communicating, like you said.
Yeah.
And so you don't have these other animals communicating. It's just a question of how are they?
Yeah, I was thinking about this. So like there's a lot of times in the movie where like Chance is, a puppy and does something dumb where he'll like fall into a hole, or he'll like run into a pole, or he'll trip and fall off a chair or whatever. And I'm wondering to myself, like, is that like like, was that planned, or is it like did Michael J. Fox just like ad lib when like they shot the scene and Michael J. Fox was just like, say something about this?
Go for home.
Well, like, what does he say at the end of the movie? Well, like, there's just like a lot of times where that happens, where he's like running and like he's like a puppy, so he like trips and falls, and like
falls in the gopher hole. I thought that was so funny.
I just really enjoy that part of it, because like filming with animals is like so tough, because like they never do exactly what you want them to do. Like, it takes like a long time.
And I don't know if you saw too, actually, now that you bring that up, the scene where they're getting out of the car to go to the farm.
Yeah.
Where Chance jumps out of the car and knocks Jamie's face into the door.
Oh my God. I didn't notice that.
Like, and they immediately pan away from that. He like he jumps
so
out,
excited.
his butt hits him in the head.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was really funny. Like, I saw it and I was like, oh my God, that kid just got hit.
So while we're on the farm, we get some like prime sassy.
Oh yeah.
Where she like they're feeding the dogs first, and she's like, "Oh, my beautiful tail!" Like she got stepped on, and then she gets the wet cat food out and puts it in the bowl. It's cold. You're supposed to microwave it, and then don't expect a tip from me. Very good, like prime sassy.
Oh yeah. Full on sassy. She is as sassy as it gets. And like, yeah, I think you're right. The farm is like character development for these three characters.
Yeah.
So we have Sassy sort of establishing that pampered kind of character. We've got Chance as this, I just want to run around and do what I want, this very independent character. And young and like juvenile, obviously. He's still figuring things out, versus Shadow, who is he all he wants on this farm, he's just looking in one direction, waiting for something to happen.
Yeah.
And so you really this farm is really where we see who these characters are.
Yeah, and there's nothing as good as the scene right before the lady leaves. For this, where like they're all sitting on the porch together, and Chance is like, yeah, they dumped us, and like he just says it out right. He's like, they left us, it's no big deal, like we have a great life here anyway. And Shadow's like, how dare you can't say stuff like that, you're betraying your person. And Sassy's like on the same side as Shadow, obviously. And like, yeah, Chance loves the park because it is freedom, and that's what his character wants, because he's like been in the pound or whatever.
Right. And so from the very beginning, the one that really struggles with going with Shadow when he leaves is Chance. He's the last one to leave. He kind of gets scared out by the Birdzilla. He's hesitant to go because this is the ideal place for him.
Yeah. First, before we leave the porch scene, though, real quick, the best adult joke of the movie is when Chance offers Sassy the shoe, and she's like, "I'm not into leather."
I actually didn't catch that. I was thinking about, okay, she just doesn't like leather shoes. But yeah, I guess I didn't even notice it. Went right over my head.
That's the goal.
So yeah, I think that was, jeez. I can't believe I didn't see that. Really. Okay, so they leave, right? They go, he's like, something is wrong. Something has happened. And
something
what I really
wrong. They should have been here by now.
I guess what I really pull from this movie is animals can be real dumb. This like really like they've been gone for a week and they're like, oh my god, they've abandoned us, or they're dead now. We have to go find them.
Right, and Chance like has a gate closed on him, and he's like, "I'm in the pound! Holy shit, the gate is closed!" Like, wait, you were never like told to stay inside the house, like, or something like that before?
Right. And like you have to wonder, I mean, obviously that's his driving factor.
Yeah,
This character of Chance, that's his main drive is I don't want to be in the pound. I will do anything. Like I'll hang out with this little kid. I will do anything except be in the pound. And so even something reminiscent of the pound, like this gate, is enough to make him crazy.
yeah. Animals are dumb, but not cats. Cats are smart.
I mean, she said the same thing. She's like, yeah, they've obviously left us. We have to go find them.
All right, but she was being influenced by dumb dogs.
Okay, whatever. I see that cat on your lap. You're biased.
I am
I don't wanna
currently petting a great cat.
So like they leave, they go up the mountain. They're like, it's literally right over the top of this mountain.
Yeah, it's right there. It's right there. It took us a really long time to get here. Yeah, but if we walk, we'll get there. Yeah, they don't have any sense of time.
No, not even a little bit. They're like,
even
I'm
says
just going to cross this mountain.
We're going to take the shortcut straight up and over.
I'm just going to go right on top of this mountain, no problem at all, and we'll be there.
Okay, I got a question.
Yeah,
Like, because then our next scene is Peter in school, right?
yeah.
Some kind of temporary school. Is this move permanent? Like, I was really confused over that. Like, is Peter supposed to be like is the family moving back to Northern California in like 6 months? Is it like 5 weeks? Is it like forever? Like, it's really unclear to me. It seemed like it would be temporary, but if it's temporary, then like, is he just going to like a school for like a couple months and then going back to school in like back in California? I don't know. It seemed weird.
Well, and yeah, I guess that's my other issue is that it's not really clarified because he does say it's temporary, but I'm not sure that it is because it feels like he's being offered a professorship.
Yeah.
And so I guess my biggest question then is, A, if they have moved, how is it? Or I guess by the end of the movie they moved back to Southern California, but and so that sort of makes a little bit of it up because otherwise it'd be like, how are they? Like, how do they know which direction to go if the family's in a new location? How are they going to get there? Because I would understand, and I do kind of understand, since the story is saying they're going back to their own home. They like animals have a way of finding their way back home. That's ultimately what they're going for.
Yeah.
But they were in a new location. If they had
Chance there for like a couple of days, was it Shadow's original home? Maybe that's
guess.
why they were following
Yeah.
Shadow.
You
That's
have
true.
this question of if they had moved to this new location and it been more permanent, would they just have showed up on their old doorstep and been like, nobody's here? Can you imagine that movie where they show up back at their old house and nobody's living there and they're like sitting on the doorstep waiting and never get back to their family?
Ooh, that would be rough and sad.
Yeah, like that's kind of what I imagined going back into this. That's like what I was thinking in my head. If they're moving, how are they going to get back in touch with the family? Because they're going to go home.
Well, they can go back to the future,
Right.
and stop themselves from
Right.
ever having this problem.
Doc Brown pulls up in the DeLorean and says to these animals, "Hop in."
It's definitely like a turtle or something. Doc Brown.
Right. Or, no, I see him more as a cockatiel
Okay, all right, I can see that.
because of the hair. but yeah, like I think that they like go up this hill, they go up this mountain, get to the top, and look
Sassy's
over.
like, this ground isn't nearly soft enough. I love
Yeah,
Sassy's lines. Most of my notes for this are just Sassy's lines.
right, like I broke a nail, or just like going up the mountain and complaining. And I mean, it makes sense for her character. She's a pampered character. It works out.
Yeah.
Versus like Chance, who's just having a blast. He's just walking through the woods because
He
it's
definitely
fun.
enjoyed himself.
Yeah. And like even still, we see their priorities, what each of them wants, and like as they're going back home, Shadow's goal is to get back to Peter. Her Sassy's goal is not so much about hope as much as I just want to not be in the wilderness anymore.
Yeah.
And Chance is I feel like Chance is almost hoping that they won't find home, because being in the woods is fun.
Absolutely, yeah. Also, just like side note, God, the views are gorgeous in this movie. Like shooting in like the mountain, like these mountains of California is awesome because it is beautiful and the sights are awesome.
Yeah. Most definitely. I thought it was pretty. All of it was very pretty. You're right. And so, but like they sort of keep going through the woods. I don't really have any notes up until the point where Sassy falls in the water. Because a lot of it is just them traveling through the woods.
Yep.
And so Sassy refuses to cross the river in the same way as them, just not going through the water. She tries to cross her own way and falls in the river and goes off a waterfall and dies.
Thing about right before that is like the cat is magically getting the fish out of the, like, she's so good at catching fish, like unbelievably good.
Yeah.
For a house cat at
Right.
catching these giant ass fish. Also, Marie, who's a zookeeper, says that those were two different bears. She's pretty sure that one of those bears was a black bear and the other one was a brown bear. So the mama bear and the baby bears are not necessarily the same species, from a reptile zookeeper. So maybe not a super expert, but she says they're not the same.
Well, I believe her. So yeah, like Sassy falls in the water. She goes off the cliff. And I want to talk about Shadow's reaction. Shadow is just devastated after this.
I thought she had died. I was like, what's going on? Like, you think she's dead.
I guess I'm not sure if Shadow's reaction was that devastating because he's loyal to his friends so much as, or at least I think a part of it is, will I be allowed back into the family if I don't bring back everybody safely?
Interesting. Or like even maybe like more altruistic than that, like how is Hope going to feel about this? It's even worse for Hope. Like he's like thinking about the family's thoughts about this.
Right. And like almost, is it better for me not to show up at all without Sassy there? Because like would it hurt even more if the two of us came back and Sassy wasn't there?
Yeah.
Almost in the same way that when in the ending the two of them show back up and Shadow doesn't show up for a second, Peter is devastated.
Yeah.
And so like you got to wonder if that's going through his head at all. Like, should I even try showing up at all now?
Yeah, it's a rough scene. I definitely like was like, holy shit! Like I was expecting like a last second save, like in the Goofy movie when he's going over the water fountain, and I was like, oh shit, no, she actually just died.
Yeah. And so like the obviously Shadow is like the leader of the group, right? He is taking responsibility for the death of his friend. He feels responsible because he is the older one. He should have known better.
I shouldn't have made her come. She's my responsibility.
Yeah.
But
And
then,
so,
okay, But then
Yeah.
but then he makes it about him. Like he's like, just like Jamie is your responsibility, and Peter is my responsibility. Like he makes it about him. You're right. Like earlier, you said, like it feels like he's like. You're right. He's making this feelings about the loss of Sassy are sort of like about him.
Yeah.
In that way, like, and like he's like using that time to explain to like his mentee dog that like that's why we're man's best friend. His exact words. That's why we are man's best friend because we're responsible and loyal. Just
Right.
like I was responsible for that cat that died.
Right. And so like we just sort of go on without her for a while.
Yeah.
And just sort of deal with it. And so from an audience perspective, if you've never seen this movie before, or it's been a while, even for me, I was like, oh my God, like that's just it. It's just gonna be these two dogs now. And almost for me, I feel like it was beneficial to the story for these two to have to spend time together.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you're right. Like he is his mentor. Shadow is Chance's mentor, and so having that time, Chance really does a lot of growing up, even in this like half a day that he's spending with Shadow alone.
Yeah, they're like bonding. They're talking about hot dogs. Like they're talking about like there's the whole cougar scene we'll get to later. But yeah, there's like a bunch of bonding there.
Yeah, almost like he's a father figure, I would say. And so this time spent together develops both of their characters a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the main struggle that Shadow faces throughout the entire movie is that he's old. He feels like he can't do anything because he's old.
Well, I mean, but he's the one leading the charge, though. Like he's pushing everybody far. Like he's generally ahead of everybody else.
That's definitely a part of it, but I think that's maybe the reason that he's leading the charge. He's like, I don't have much time left. I need to spend this time with Peter.
Interesting.
And I think that's part of it, at least. Versus the primary thing that Chance goes throughout the story is that he is a child. He is still a puppy. He doesn't know what to do. And so for both of them, they both get a chance to experience, for like Shadow, he gets to experience being a puppy again. And for Chance, he gets the opportunity to feel or to learn.
So we get to meet the crazy woodland hermit. And I'm going to describe him as such. So I'm actually going to read his lines in a crazy woodland hermit voice, even though this is not how they actually sounded. There you are, master of the sky. You are the boss. Speaking of the bald eagle that is in the sky. He sees a cat. So he's this guy, he's out in the woods, he's bird watching. He sees a cat in the water, picks it up, and is like, holy shit, it's alive! Wait, dude, why did you pick up the dead cat? If you thought it was a dead cat, why did you pick it up?
I wrote that down as well. I thought it was like really weird from he just sort of grabbed it and cradled it and then realized it was alive.
It's alive! Holy shit! Oh, man. That is funny.
Yeah.
We also get some good lines from that sequence. She's like, the creepy hermit guy is like talking to the cat.
Yeah.
And when she wakes up, she's like, "Is this my sixth life?" I'll say it's my fourth. Like that's kind of funny, but like I just really like the creepy hermit guy, and I'm glad that he's there.
Yeah, and like, is this goat milk low fat? I don't care. It's tasty.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh man. And
like
then
even in a bad situation, she's still being sassy.
yeah, she's great. She's the best character. So before we get to the cougar scene, let's talk a little bit about humans, which are boring, but still human beings. So we should talk about the lesser characters of this show.
Okay, so yeah, I mean,
Hold on. Josh, hold up.
yeah, what's up?
Can we cut this off
Okay,
out real quick? Marie was running the water, and I don't know if you would be able to hear it or not. No.
I didn't.
Okay. Okay, I'll try again. Ready?
Yeah,
Are you ready, Josh?
yeah, go.
Okay. Are you ready, Josh?
Oh my God, yes.
Okay, so we have to go back to the humans at this point before we go on to the cougar scene, which is badass. So like they call the Park Service. The Park Service is like, yeah, no, cats and dogs aren't going to survive out here. There are mountain lion cougar pumas, and they call the people, the human beings. Peter's mad. He blames the new dad. You don't even care. You don't even care about them, about the cats and dogs. And Peter's new dad, I don't know his name, makes these ancient-looking lost cat signs, lost cat and dog signs, because he's trying.
Right.
And we're caught up to speed on the humans.
Yeah, but and yes, one of the things I want to talk about, especially with Peter, is this relationship with his pseudo father, his stepdad, where he's really, really upset at his stepdad because he won't help. He feels like he's not trying, and his stepdad feels like he has to help in some way, and sort of it makes it a priority over his work. Even it comes in the way of his work because he wants to try. I thought that was a nice scene. I thought that was meaningful, especially the fact that he didn't tell Peter.
Yeah, which we find out later.
Yeah, because he felt so bad. He felt like, you're right, these animals are important. They're part of our family. I need to do something.
Yeah, it's definitely like awakening moment. It helps their relationship ultimately too.
I mean, it does. Yeah.
He is helping.
Right. So that's interesting. And I also want to say that Peter is very mature for his age. And I think that's another thing that we see between him and Shadow, that this very mature kind of psyche that Peter has. He feels like he knows right from wrong at a very young age. And I really appreciate that about Peter's character.
Yeah, no, definitely no talking down to Peter.
Right.
Mountain Cougar Puma.
Yeah, the Mountain Cougar Puma scene. I wish he talked again. If it was Samuel L. Jackson, I would love it. But he doesn't. And so it's almost for Chance. It's the little Chance that cried Puma. He's looking up and seeing it. And Shadow's like, I don't see it. You're crazy.
I don't see no cats. Giant cats. You're making shit up.
And then he sees him again. And he's just sitting on the ledge. That would be the perfect time for him to say something. It would have been perfect. He's just sitting there. We pan to
I'm gonna eat you.
Hello.
Get him to play. Man, there's so many options. Any creepy character.
Really. Yeah.
So I love the scene. I'm running from a cat. I won't tell if you won't tell. Yeah, but he's not really a normal sized cat. He's Arnold Schwarzenegger, which is especially good because when they knock the cat into the river, he says, "Hasta la vista, kitty."
Yeah, I noticed that too. Double of the same reference.
Yeah, pretty good. They throw the cat into the river. Cat gets wet. Cats don't like water, and he says, "Cats drool, dogs rule."
Right.
Which doesn't last long because the cat finds them, and our cat Sassy finds them, and when running to catch him, he does one of those scenes where he falls. Sassy, 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 gopher hole, sassy, sassy, sassy.
That was probably
He
my
falls.
favorite mistake.
It was really great.
So good. That was really funny for me, and especially because like the look on the dog's face when he fell, he looked like, oh god.
Ah! Oh man.
Yeah. Still together again. She's alive. That's nice.
The squirrel with the bad hair day bit Chance with his butt.
Yeah, that terrifying squirrel. And like he's just being so curious. I love how curious Chance is. He's like a puppy. He is. That's what he is. He wants to find out all these new things. So he sniffs its butt. He's like, assume the position. You know how this goes.
I stiff you, you stiff me.
And then he bit me with his butt.
Yeah, I love that. Also, Sassy's like, curiosity killed the dog. That's what my mom says.
Yeah. And like she's trying to get it off, but she's just like biting his lip. And I would have loved to see this in person, or like while they were filming this, because this cat, like how would they get this cat to bite this dog's lip and pull on it?
It was really good. Like they were like, I was also thinking that, like, is that a rubber dog? Is that actually the dog? The cat just bites the dog's lip. So at this time of the movie, I was thinking, like, some people are going to say that we really can't talk, like, with authority about this movie because we never had dogs and we didn't have cats.
Mm.
Are never going to find a movie about the story of a boy and his 3 lizards,
Yeah, exactly.
Which we had a lot of lizards. Onion, chocolate, garlic, and Josh Jr.
Yep.
Josh named the Josh Jr.
I did. Because I thought that garlic and onion were stupid names for lizards. Granted, I wasn't that creative either. Josh Jr. is not a creative name. But
onion and garlic are for sure creative names for lizards. Like, they may not be good names, but they're creative names.
No, they're creative names, but we were also in the kitchen when you named them.
No. You don't remember. Okay, this is definitely off track, and I apologize to our listeners, but you are wrong, Josh. No, Bam was threatening to, our grandma, Bam, was threatening to eat the lizards, and I said, I'm going to name it Onion because she's allergic to onions. It's very creative.
I don't remember that.
Oh, well.
I guess I was too young.
You're not Josh Jr., at least not Josh Jr.
Whatever. Garlic, she's not allergic to garlic. That's just you with the funny name.
Okay, well, at that point, it was a sequence. They had to go together.
Whatever. Anyway, we had a bunch of green anoles, is the long and short of it. And yes, we may never had like dogs or cats, but it's something that we both I think wanted through a lot of our childhood. And so I did identify with this movie as a child growing up, where having any kind of animal would have been nice, and so like having this relationship with a dog like Peter has is something that I always really wanted, and I did identify with.
Yep.
And I mean, you kind of can identify more now, Tony, because you have cats, but
Oh man, I have great cats.
I still cannot identify because I have yet to have any animals.
Aren't they all your animals?
I mean, I guess whatever.
All right. So Josh is like the scared little girl in the woods, lost,
Yeah.
alone. Luckily, Shadow comes and saves the scared little girl in the woods and gives her a big old hug for comfort and warmth and keeping the girl alive.
Yep. And it just so happens that the police officer has seen the dogs and cat before. And they're like, great, we saved this little girl, but also, more importantly, these animals.
Yeah, no, it was weird. Like they were like definitely the worst rescue party ever. Like they were just walking in a straight line and yelling the girl's name.
Not even
Like,
worrying about like branching off.
yeah, no, they weren't like spread out. It was just like it was a rescue party of 20 people who are all basically walking the exact same space. Doesn't seem like a good way to find someone
No,
just
they
by
knew where
walking
it
the
was.
trail and yelling, but like whatever. Okay. But
Yeah,
yes.
so they make a bigger deal about the dogs, though. I think the animals than they do about the little girl, and I thought that was really funny.
Well, they're like superhero dogs. They like saved the little girl. Like they're real cool. And Shadow was
Yeah.
right. People aren't evil. They're going to take them to the pound, not to the pound, but to like get their parents, their human being parents. But they think that they are being betrayed because they don't know the difference between like being taken to the house and being taken to the pound to be picked up.
Right.
And so Shadow feels really betrayed. He's like despondent, and he gets locked up first.
Yeah, and poor Chance is being terrorized. He's being he's in a room and he's like, I'll tell you everything I know.
Yeah, I also really like the big guy who's like trying to catch Sassy. He's like, here, kitty, 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 and Sassy's like, no, dummy, 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 dummy. I like that scene a lot.
Yeah.
That whole scene is funny because it's like good like slapstick humor, where like the cat is like outrunning the guy and like running around the complex, and the guy's like failing to catch the cat.
Right. And like the other thing is that somehow or another Sassy gets Shadow out and they like Shadow goes to let out Chance, and it just so happens that he lets him out after the last porcupine needle's taken out of his mouth. But it's very slapstick. You're right. Like one of them gets trapped behind the door, the other one slams into the door into the other guy. It feels very Three Stooges almost.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like even like the way they run around the complex feels like cartoony.
Yeah, absolutely. And so they get away, obviously.
Yep.
And
Chance sucks at digging, but gets out anyway.
right. And so they get out. They are like super excited. They're like, way to go. And then I love this little thing. The car passes and goes back towards the pound. And Shadow's like, I have a feeling like we should go back to the pound.
Yeah, he's definitely psychic.
And then Sassy's like, back to the pound? Are you crazy? And he's like, yeah, you're right.
Like, what was that scene there for? That is a silly scene. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, and like you're like, as a viewer, you're thinking, wow, okay, so we're gonna resolve this right now. It's just they're gonna go back to the pound on a hunch.
And everybody's like, nope, no, that's crazy. Keep
No,
going.
you're right. That's stupid. Why would we go back there?
And so like as we're walking, like Chance feels like he has friends. He's like excited. He's like, these guys like saved me. He's like narrating, right? These guys saved me. I like have friends and a cat and a dog. And I think that's sort of like the gateway to him having friends with like the people, right?
Right.
And so we have the major climax moment in the train yard.
Yeah.
Coming up next.
Right. And they like, so the train yard, they're going across as fast as they can because they think they're close to home. And there's she's almost hit, right? Sassy almost gets hit by a train.
and then Shadow like falls down an abandoned mine
Yeah.
or something. Like I don't know what that is.
I'm not sure what it was either.
It's basically like a big mud hole climb out of for dogs.
Right. And I really appreciate this scene, A, because of Chance's character. Okay. Specifically, Chance is saying, you can't give up now, in the same way that Shadow was telling him, you can't give up on the people. He's saying, you can't give up now. You brought me this far. You're my father figure, and I need you to get out of this hole. Sort of encouraging him the way that he was encouraged.
Yeah.
The other reason that I really appreciate this scene is because of Shadow. He's sort of defeated. He's like, I am too old. This is something I cannot do because I am too old.
He says, do you think it's easy for me to decide? Do you think it's easy for me to admit that I'm too old? I can't do it.
Yeah. And so like he feels like he can't do it because he's old, in the same way that he has been the whole movie. But ultimately he forces himself to get out of that hole, to overcome this thing that he thinks is holding him back. And that's the case for all the characters. They have to overcome this one thing that is stopping them from being better.
Yeah.
I think that it's a vital scene.
Yeah. I agree. And I think like it's really great for those two dogs for sure.
Yeah.
And Sassy is doing a good job of cheerleading. So
yeah, and like it's interesting because, as we talked about before, it's based on a book, The Incredible Journey, and the book is about Chance. The book is about Chance's character, but it feels almost like throughout this entire movie, while Chance is narrating, the story is more about Shadow.
yeah, no, I agree. I think the story is mostly Shadow, somewhat Chance, and very little anybody else, including Sassy.
Right.
Sassy is my favorite character, but isn't necessarily like a major character as far as the storyline goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like they find their way back. That's how the story will go. They find their way back to their old house. The family's moved back there. And I think it's really funny how each of them comes up over that hill one at a time. Very cinematically pleasing, sure, but in terms of real life, it kind of frustrated me a little bit.
Yep. And they come in the order of least to most important, as we just discussed,
right,
to the story.
And so they come back over the hill to their one particular owner, and Peter's like, oh, he didn't make it. He was old. He was gonna die. And like turns around, is all sad, and then everybody, this beautiful moment, oh, he's alive.
And Chance is narrating in the backwards, sacrifice and family and love is more than just mushy stuff. Thank you, Chance.
Yep. And then
turkey.
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 And
Birds
then
alive.
it's so the moral of the story is that if you're old, you can still cross mountains and get out of a mud hole if you need to.
Yeah, I think the moral of the story is that if you happen to fall down a waterfall, like hope that there's a crazy old man who's bird watching to save you.
Right, whose name is unknown. We're going to call him Crazy Steve. Crazy Wood Steve.
Crazy Wood Steve. I guess along with that, the moral of the story is that if you see what looks to be an unconscious cat, pick it up.
Yeah, cradle it a little bit and see if it's alive. And if it's not, then you made yourself a hat.
Oh my god.
uh, but I think that overall I really enjoyed rewatching this movie.
Yeah. Okay, so like at the very beginning we said there wasn't that much to talk about. It actually turned out there was like a lot more than I thought.
Yeah. But yeah, I actually really like this movie. I can't say that before I rewatched it I was like psyched. It was not on my list of favorite movies of Disney movies at all. But now I would think that it's up there. I wouldn't put it in my top 10, but I would definitely say it's up there.
Yeah, it's a good movie for sure.
Yeah.
So some quick business. Please make sure that you rate us on iTunes. That will help more people find us. And don't just listen to the podcast on iTunes or wherever you find it. Please subscribe on iTunes if you have an iTunes account, because that also helps people find us. So it automatically will put the next episode into your feed.
Right. The other thing is like and share on Facebook. We're at Front Porch Disney on Facebook. We also have a Twitter account at Fropo Disney. And we do want to hear back from you. So comment, like, share. We want to post on the page even, or on the Twitter feed. We want to hear from you. We want to see what you thought about these episodes, or something else that you thought was interesting, or even what movie you want to see next we can talk about. So don't be afraid to do that. The other thing as well is to share with your friends on Facebook. We've already gotten quite a few hits. We've been getting even more and more and more throughout the past 2 weeks. We've been getting a lot of people who are interested and been listening in.
Yeah,
But
dozens of fans.
yeah, shout out to you guys, but keep going strong. We're killing it right now.
We're an international podcast. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
We've been played across 3 nations.
Wow.
I know.
Well, keep it going, guys. It's been pretty great so far, and we want to keep doing it. So tell your friends. Share on Facebook. Lastly, I feel like we haven't really talked too much about us. So if you want to know more about the two of us, feel free to comment or message us. We're really happy to share who we are a little bit. And I mean, we did a little bit at the beginning with the first episode, but we want to create an environment for you guys that really pushes you to have fun with these movies and these podcasts and enjoy talking about it as much as we do.
Yeah, we're trying to build up a community.
Right. And so for that reason, feel free to message us, comment, like, share, and we will see you guys on the next one.
Yep. And because there's no song on this movie, rather than sing out a song from this movie, we're going to sing out on the Front Porch with You. Ready to go?
Yeah, do it.
Oh, how I long to linger here like this. Hold your hand and steal a kiss or two on the front porch with you.
With us. See you next time, guys. Thanks.